Can you guys hear me?
Afternoon, sir.
Hey, Tome, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How's the long weekend?
Yeah, no, not good. This electric is a problem. Yeah?
They can't hear you enough here on my side.
Okay, I think maybe it's not the volume.
You are breaking, sir.
Okay. Just trying to check here. Okay, my network is a bit stable, so I don't know if it's from my side or from. So, how are you guys? Are you guys well? The rest of Hi, Busi. I'm good, thanks. Okay, so anyway, sorry for being in absentia for a while, guys. There were some things that, like for instance, I think your admin communicated. Yeah. So we had like a site visit on Thursday, and then today, I mean on Friday, then I had some submissions that I had to do. That's why we couldn't have a class there. Yeah, but let us continue. But I do not want to. I do not want to like delay our theory. So we'll start from there, and then we'll continue with our JavaScript sometime later. Okay.
So we're starting a new module.
Can you guys hear me? Sounding better now, or
Sir, you sound a little bit far from your mic.
oh, okay. How about now? Is it better?
Much better.
All right. So as I was saying that I want us to get this theory. I want us to make it a theory. So in the theory component, there's certain things that I want us to like there isn't much. Something that we can do probably in a week. Supposed to be done with that. Then we can go back to our JavaScript. As you guys know that a lot of coding content that we have. At the same time, our practical, our theory now is much, so there is a lot of on your side there. There is actually a lot of work to do. So now I'm only tasked with just finishing up this content. Just getting. And I apologize for being late today. My classes late. Like,
Hey, your voice is so down.
or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, how is it now?
No, still down, but a little bit.
Okay. Let me see what I can do about that. How's it sounding now? Is it better or still the same?
Yeah, it's bad.
As I was saying that we need to finish up on this component. To finish up on this component here. So that is so the component that we need to finish up on is the component. Let me just share it. So I'm sharing a with okay, there we go. So I'm sharing this window here. So we're looking at systems development and its implications. That is the module that we're looking at. I said that there isn't a lot of work on this particular module there because it doesn't have a lot of data. We only have 3 modules in it. So, and then those modules that we covering them very, very fast. Now, again, like remember, guys, whenever we're doing this, there's certain things that we do. Like every time we finish a module, go and cover the formative, the summative, sorry, cover the summative. And then after you are done, and then it's up to you also whether after covering the formative, then you're going to, the summative, and then you're also going to cover the formative. So it is up to you entirely. But my suggestion is every time we finish a module, go and cover both. Cover the formative and cover the summative. Cover both of them. and get it over with. Every time we finish a module, do that. So this helps you in terms of reducing the amount of workload, because if you leave your work and then you say, I'm going to do it towards 2 days before the submission day and stuff, you are going to be complaining later and you're telling me that now you've got a lot of work and things like that, of which for me, I won't be seeing that. I'll be seeing that as an excuse, essentially, because you have time for you to finish your work, but you're choosing not to finish your work in time. So hence, remember, every time you need to cover your modules way ahead of time. So we finish a module, cover the formative and summative. We finish a module, cover formative and summative. You'll notice that the amount of work won't even be much. And that will also help you to understand the content way better than if we cover the content, like we cover 3 modules, and then you have to go back now for you to start answering, go back to the first module, and that will be a lot of work for you later. But anyway, now with the module 1, this is where we're starting. So module 1 here, system development and its implications there. We're going to cover certain aspects. I'm not going to read all this stuff. Okay, so this is where demonstrate an awareness of ethics and professionalism for the computer industry in South Africa. So now, each and every person that uses a computer needs to understand certain things. We spoke about these ethics and professionalism before. Remember when you're covering module 2, when you're covering websites and stuff, we said that they're supposed to be ethical use when it comes to using computers, of which that is something that you need to understand very, 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 very well, because you need to understand these ethics there that you're dealing with, especially if you're dealing with computers. So they are supposed to be ethics, and then there is the professionalism item there. Because there are some kids that I teach IT, which is basically I teach them coding, and then these kids, they're grade 10, 11, 12. And one thing that I've noticed that every time, whenever whenever they're coming in for the very first time, when they're getting introduced to the whole computer sciences coding thing, first question they always say, you know what, I want to hack. So can you teach me that? I want to hack, can you teach me that? And most of them, they don't even know what hacking is, what hacking entails and stuff. Some of them can even ask questions like, you know what, if you're good in coding, why don't you hack banks, for instance? Then I always laugh at that, because it's ridiculous, really, if you think of it, for someone that has worked in the financial systems. One thing that I would tell you about banks and stuff is their security is crazy, like it's crazy. And then this whole thing of hacking banks and stuff, it's a thing that you only see in movies, which that's why you hardly ever hear about anyone who has hacked a bank. I'm pretty sure you haven't heard of anyone who has hacked a bank in years, or if ever you've ever heard of anyone hacking a bank, because like some of those things are not things that are literally practical because of the layers of security that you have to go through for you to go through all that. Now, come back and you look at this. There is the issue of ethics. There is the issue of professionalism when you're working with computers there. Now, we need to demonstrate that awareness of the ethics and the ethical and the professional parts of working in the computer industry, especially in this country, related to our country in South Africa, and also to the whole world in general. So now, this particular module is designed to do certain things. One, to provide conceptual knowledge of the areas that are covered. That is the first part. We want you to understand that we want you to have the conceptual knowledge of these parts there, about the computers, about the ethics, about the professionalism. And also for those that are working or entering the work area in technology, we also need you to understand what exactly professionalism and ethics entails. How do you deal with people's data? Because if you're a coder, if you're a programmer, one thing that's one thing for sure is you're going to be dealing a lot with people's data. Now, it's very important to understand what exactly are you going to do with data? How do you intend on using people's data? Because that there is something that is very important. Like, people need to know what exactly you use their data for, how to use their data, and how do you share their data. You see, all of that has to do with ethics there. As additional knowledge for those wanting to cover the certain areas there, how to describe the professionalism in the computer industry, the codes for practice, the codes of ethics, the performance elements in the standards that allow further learning in this particular area there. So we need to understand how all of these items come into play so that we can have an industry that doesn't have a lot of issues. Now, the very first part here is professionalism in the computer industry in South Africa to describe this. Now, when it comes to professionalism in the computer industry of South Africa, there are certain things. First thing, the description identifies the acceptable and unacceptable professional practices, and then description identifies non-professional bodies in South Africa. There are certain professional bodies that you end up belonging to, especially if you're in the computer industry. Same way that medical doctors have got their own body, engineers have got their own body, quantity surveyors, they've got their own body, even computer scientists and programmers, designers and all that stuff, all those other guys that are in this space here, they've got a certain body, a professional body that you report to. And if you do not meet their code of ethics and stuff, like even your license to practice can be taken away. Next thing, you find that everywhere where you're trying to look for a job, you're blacklisted. Why? Because of some of these issues that you have there. So hence now, the very first part is, what is professional ethics? That there. So now, professional ethics. Now, when it comes to professional ethics, it says that these ones, they concern one's conduct or behavior when carrying out professional work. So how do you behave? And how do you, like, what do you do? How do you practice carrying out your professional work there? Whether you are consulting, whether you're researching, whether you're teaching, whether you're writing, there is a certain level of professionalism that you have to adhere to, especially for in the workspace. I'm not talking about your personal space, but I'm talking about your workspace. So as long as within the work hours right now, or whenever you're dealing with clients, so if you decide that you want to deal with clients even over the weekends, how do you conduct yourself? How do you behave? How do you practice? If, let's say, you're working remotely, and then they say attend a meeting each and every day in the morning, how do you dress? How do you approach that entire meeting there? It also matters, because that has to do with professionalism there. So now the institutionalization of codes of conduct and codes of practice is common within any body, of which these bodies that I've been talking to there. There are a lot of other bodies that we deal with there. Now, when we're talking about bodies, when we talk about bodies in South Africa here, I can give you, quite a few. I can give you quite a few of these professional bodies in South Africa here. Like, for instance, here in the IT spec or IT world, the professional body that you report to is something called Institute of Information Technology Professionals South Africa, which basically the abbreviation there, I'm pretty sure you've seen this, IITPSA. So now this one focuses on promoting IT professionalism across South Africa there. So it helps us to deal with the professionalism part and also upholding the ethical standards of the IT industry. So that is the body that you deal with, which is called the IITPSA. And then there are other bodies that we have there. So you've got, like, for instance, I'm pretty sure you've seen these ones here, South African Institution of Chartered Accountants, SAICA. Then you've got the Health Professionals Councils of South Africa, which is HPCSA. Then you also have South African for Architecture Profession. Then you've got South African Nursing Councils, and then you've got Engineering Council of South Africa. So all of these professional bodies are the bodies that we deal with almost each and every time if you have to deal with with different specs or the different sectors of South Africa. So they deal mostly with the professionalism and the ethical conduct of its members. Hence, if you are practicing as one of these practitioners, wherever you are, in whatever body that you are, there's certain professionalism codes, there's certain ethical codes that you have to be basic or that you have to deal with. So now, any code may be considered a formalization of experience into a set of rules. Like, you understand that. So there are certain rules that have to be followed, and each and every code that has been stipulated is then adopted by that particular community, and then each and every member has to adhere. Like each and every member has to adhere. Like, you have to be able to live according to those set rules. For instance, in the IT space, there are certain things that we look at. Okay, I'm trying to look maybe for for something simpler that I can use to explain. So now, like for instance, in the health space, there are certain things like cannot cure. For instance, if you're a doctor, your job is to preserve life, and hence you cannot cure. So if you do anything, and then that is remotely considered like a breach of those rules, they have every right for them to come to you and make you lose their membership. They revoke their membership. And like, if you want one thing, especially in medicine and in law, like for instance, this example that's been given to us here, in medicine and law, a loss of membership from any professional body that you belong to is literally you losing your right to practice. If you lose your member to the health professionals practitioner, a health professional, health care, what's that? Now I'm biting my tongue here. Oh, Health Professionals Council of South Africa. If you lose your membership from there, from that body, you cannot be a doctor. If you're a doctor, you cannot be a doctor anymore. Basically, you have lost your right to practice in South Africa. You've lost your right to practice in South Africa. Same applies if you belong to the Law Society of South Africa. If you lose your membership from them, you cannot practice law in this country anymore, because done, you've lost your right to practice. So apart from these codes and from these codes of ethics and from these codes of ethics and professionalism, there are other things that are basically looked at there. So now, one is also, there is something like what they talk about, things like, besides ethics, there's also things like what they call the cultural aspects. They also have to look at that stuff. Then they also look at the profession, the discipline and things like that. There's a lot of other things that actually are dealt with, especially when it comes to that. So hence, now, when it comes to these codes, they tend to be a little bit controversial, because there are certain things that are done or that are set by these bodies that other people do not agree with. There are certain things there. Like for instance, let's say you grow up in a family, like I'm talking, let's say you're a doctor, and then you grow up in a family where people practice, like you're from, is it Sangoma? Like, yeah, a Sangoma family, right? So now you're from a Sangoma family, and your people, they practice like treating or healing people with natural remedies, the stuff that you get from the bush and stuff. And then now, once you come into medicine, you know that there are certain things that you can do, and there are certain things that you cannot do. But now, and then there are certain things that you observe. for instance, like I don't know much about like a lot of traditional things, but one thing that I know is there are certain things that whenever people see certain things, they're like, no, this one is sick from such and such, because I presume that they know. I don't know, but I presume that they know. Now, because of that, that tends to have a clash, especially when it comes to how to treat that particular patient. Now, according to a code of ethics, there's certain things that you cannot do. But according to what you think now, and then you're thinking like, okay, maybe if I do this, this might be, you see that. So now that tends to be a little bit controversial there. But the whole point of this professional body is to help you, is to make you understand what exactly that is expected of you and how you're supposed to perform your duties while you're at the space of work. So that if anything happens, it doesn't come back to you, because you can always come and say, no, I stuck to the rules. The rules said ABC and I did ABC. So anything else that is on the outside, I do not know what happened. And then even themselves, they cannot come up and start saying things like, no, but you did this and you did that, because everything is as clear as day. So now, because of that, and then now also there's this aspect of universal ethics also, because now not all things that are ethical in South Africa and are also ethical everywhere else in the world. So there are sort of those things also that you should look at, the cultural beliefs, certain behaviors, and like there is a lot of these things there. Like for instance, software piracy is good, is a good case in point. E.g., here in Africa, we're living in a society where, like most of our countries are third world countries. So it tends to be a problem, especially when it comes to software. And then now there is software that is out there that you can download, you can get for free. It's unethical, we know that, but yet at the same time, now when you think about the society, when you think about that people do not even have the money to buy software, let alone pay for a subscription that you have to pay for every month. So if someone can get that software, now you ask yourself a question, is that ethical or unethical? Because now, let's say it's a student that needs that particular software for them to be able to do work, school work, for them to pass an exam. And their parents cannot afford to get that software for free. So now, is piracy, software piracy there, justified in any manner? Is it justified? Or would you just frown upon it, but then like accept it? See, so now, when you look at that, you notice that it's not everything as simple as black and white as people think, because there is a lot of red tape. There's a lot of things that we do not understand that make people do certain things the way that they do things. But if you don't understand it now, that puts you in a sort of a dilemma, because now you do not know exactly whether to oppose it or to support anything. So hence, you notice that even attitude towards software piracy can vary. Like people that are developers that make software and they sell the software, they are strongly against software. Excuse me. So now, excuse me about that. So anyway, what I was saying that it depends with who is who, especially when it comes to this software piracy thing. So now, at the end of the day, you understand, especially when it comes to ethics and professionalism, that there is a very thin line. There is a very, very thin line between what is professional and what is not. There's a thin line between what is ethical and what is not, especially when it comes to the computer industry, because there is a lot of things that we're learning almost each and every day. It's a relatively new technology, and we're still learning more about it. And as much as we're learning, more things are being developed and stuff like that. There's things like ChatGPT that do a bunch of things. So now you tend to ask yourself then, is it okay for me to do certain things or not? So now that tends to be a little bit tricky because we do not know how exactly to work around, especially if we're dealing with information here, or like with a lot of things that we deal with, like what you call like your everyday life. How exactly do you use computers? How do you function when you're using computers? Like what is good and what is not? What is right and what is not? So there are sort of those things that you need to deal with there. So hence now, understanding the engineering, software engineering code of ethics and practice there. There's this code of conduct that you have. So this code of conduct there is saying that computers have a central growing role in commerce, of which that like in all these industries, commerce, industry, government, medicine, education, entertainment, the whole society technically. So we've got we've got all these specs or all these different sectors of the society that come into play there. So hence now we know that a software engineer are those people that contribute by direct proportion or by teaching. So this here, it's either you make the software or you're going to teach other people how to make that particular software. So you can be a software engineer either way. So now to the analysis also, there are other people that simple analyze. Then there are other people that design specifications. There are other people that design the product. There are other people that are involved by part in development. There are other people that are formed by part in certification. There are other people that maintain. There are other people that test this software system. So you've got all these people that are basically part of this whole what you call software engineering code of ethics and professional industry. So you've got all these people that are part of that industry there. So now these software engineers, all of these people that practice these software engineers there, they have roles that they play and they're different. And now because they're different, now some of those roles, in those roles, or in those capabilities, some of them are basically capable of either doing good or causing harm. You see that? Or they can also enable others to do good or cause harm. Or they can influence others to do good or do harm. You see that? So you as a software engineer, so these are the aspects or these are the lines that you'll be working toward. So you have got that capability to either do good or bad. You've got the other capability to cause other people to do good or bad. You've got that capability also to enable others to do good or bad. You've got that capability to influence others to do good or bad. So you've got those lines that you're walking there. So now, how exactly do you deal with that? How exactly do you make yourself, how do you become a beneficial member to the society? And with all that, hence all software engineers are supposed to adhere to the following code of ethics in professional practice. And then in our code of ethics in professional practice here, we've got 8 principles that are related to the behavior and decisions that are made by software engineers. those software engineers there, I'm talking about the practitioners, the educators, the managers, supervisors, the policymakers, all of these people here, they have to adhere to that code of conduct there. And now the clauses there are illustrations of some of the obligations included in these relationships. So now let's look at those what you call at those 8 principles there. So now, okay, before that, you have to understand that these clauses that are written here are not exactly exhaustive. So I say that you have to understand that these principles and clauses are not exhaustive. Like they do not cover everything, which means that also you yourself as a human being, you're supposed to understand what is right and what is wrong. Because common sense says you know what is right and what is wrong. You understand that? So that just shows you that you are not supposed just to stipulate or to stick to what you think is right or wrong according to the code of conduct there, because the list is not exhaustive. Hence, the clauses shall not be read, as separating the acceptable from the unacceptable in professional conduct or in practical situations there. The code is not a simple ethical algorithm. Like you cannot take the code as an algorithm that, okay, I will read the code of conduct, and then the code of conduct is going to tell me that I'm not supposed to hack another person's computer, and then you take it as literal as that. There is more to that than as simple as not hacking. When you're talking about sharing someone's data, there's more to that than just talking about. Because now another, which means also at the same time, there's things about your password simple lying around. So if you make a weak password, you're a system administrator, and then you make a weak password that can be used by someone to hack into your account, and then from there, then they've got access to other people's data. So technically, you are at fault because of that. You see that? So you cannot justify your errors of omission and commission simply by hiding by hiding under the fact that no, the court does not exactly stipulate ABC. You cannot do that because there is no simple algorithm for this. To do that, as I said, in some situations, the standards may be in tension with each other and also with standards from other sources. These situations, they also require these software engineers to use ethical judgment and act in a manner that is consistent with the spirit of codes of the ethics and professionalism. You see what I was talking about there? That also you as a human being, you as a professional, you're supposed to understand that simple fact. That it simple doesn't stop there. Like there is more to look at in terms of ethics. There's more to look at in terms of ethics there. So now, ethical tensions. Just give me a second. Okay. So, now, as I was saying that, now in this court of ethics, there are certain things that you need to look at. As I was saying that, like, you cannot simply hide by the fact that the the court doesn't exactly stipulate because of APC. But I say that also it's good to also look at the perspective that your way of thinking is more broad than how you design to think. More broader than that. So hence, there are certain things that you need to look at there. So you need to be reasonable, well informed. That is one. Also, before you act, remember, you're a human being. One is you conduct your work with respect, whether you're told to respect or not, but you need to conduct your work with respect. Two, when you're treating other human beings, also remember that aspect there that you need to treat other human beings with respect. So it means also even their data, treat you with respect. Even how you relate to them, treat that with respect. Also, understand also there are so many other things that you need to look at there. There's public interest there. There's safety. There's welfare. There's a lot of things that you need to consider there, especially if you're dealing with, if you're a software engineer. And then now, because of that, now our code of conduct needs to be very adaptive. It needs to be adaptive. It cannot be a code of conduct that is not adaptive, that is set in black and white. Because now, the moment that you start doing that, because of how our industry evolves or how it revolves, how it changes, it doesn't stay the same every time. Hence, it's gonna be a problem if you if it was that rigid, because now it has to be amended almost every year or every 2 years, which is almost impossible. So now the code provides support for software engineers and managers who need to take positive action in a specific case by documenting the ethical instances. There is always that underlying aspects of ethics. Everywhere there is always the underlying the underlying what you call. There is always that underlying part there. Can I take this just a second? Okay, sorry guys. So now coming back here on this thing. So now let's look at the code of conduct. Let's look at what the code of conduct says. Let's look at what the code of conduct says. So I'll just count all of them, 8 of them. Just give me a second, guys. I want to show something. Um, it's a simple code that you understand. 8 items. I'm just gonna try them. So So anyway, when it comes to the so when it comes to this, there's 8 of them. The very first one here deals with
So you're breaking. I think you're breaking on my side.
okay, am I audible now? Am I audible? Sorry.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Now observe there's a tape that I just showed. So now this tape here, notice there, SE. So now the goal is to establish the concept for professional engineers to make software engineering a beneficial and respected profession. This here is also by IEEE, the Computer Society for Computer and Association, so which is like a hand also sort of conduct there. So now, when you talk about the engineers, this is what you're talking about. Software engineers are those who contribute by direct participation or by teaching, analyzing, specification generating, designing, developing, certifying, maintaining, and testing of software. All these are software engineers. For everyone who's contributed in, who contributes, hence is a engineer here. And then the roles of software engineers, professional software engineers include practitioners, educators, the managers, the supervisors, that's the thing that we're talking about. Trainees and students. This is you guys for now. You guys, since you are you've done N4, now you're doing like we did level 4, now you're doing level 5. You are trainees and students of this. So technically, you are a software engineer. So that is how the world views you now. There's a software engineer. Then now, what is software? Already know what software is. Computers have a central and growing role in commerce, industry, government. Then software engineers, they develop software and facilitate other areas of society there. And now, because of this, notice that software engineers have significant opportunity either to do or cause harm, enable others to do or cause harm, influence others to do cause harm, the stuff that I was talking about. So the need for ethics is to ensure that as much as possible that software engineers' efforts, that is why we want your efforts. So software engineers must commit themselves to making software a benefit and respect. That is your job as a software. It is to make sure that software engineering or and beneficial, and it's respected. In accordance with that commitment, software engineers shall adhere a code of ethics and professional, something that we've been talking about time there. So now, next up here, now the code of ethics and practice now is related to behavior and decision made by software engineers. So now these are the eight things that I was talking about there: public, client and employer, product, judgment, management, profession, ethics, and stuff. So now that brings to the first part here. Now, when you're talking about this software engineering code, ethics, and public, notice here. So when you're talking about the public here, I was saying the first principle that a software engineer shall act consistently with public interest. Shall act consistently with public. So therefore, now, as a software engineer, one thing that you should do, accept full responsibility for your work. Whatever that you do, accept full responsibility. If you say you write a program and it crashes, you cannot be blaming other people, but accept full responsibility. If there is anything that is wrong or something that you did, accept, whether it's good, bad, accept full responsibility. And also moderate the interest. Moderate the interest of software employer and the client, and with public good. So whatever that you do is for the good of the public. That is what I'm saying. Then literally, we're saying that you should consider the impact of your work on society. Your work on the impact of your work, that always avoid harm. Ensure that your products are accessible and usable, but never harm the public. That's what your simple. Approve software that only if you believe in. Like for instance, you guys have heard of a software called TikTok. Okay, I'm pretty sure. And last time they were in court, actually not in court, they were called in front of Congress. Just that our government doesn't do the same thing. I feel like that is something that all governments in the world are supposed to be able to do, because a lot of these public platforms or social media platforms, they cause a lot of harm. Twitter, TikTok, and they are answerable to no one, because they whatever that they do, and then they know that they can hide that because people are doing it. But in one aspect, they are supposed to check if or not. So only approve software that you believe that meets certain specific things and passes appropriate tests. Also, be fair and avoid deception in all statements. So do not lie to people. Tell the people what it is and be fair. Do not come and say, no, our software is the best. There's no software that has ever been made that can operate better than ours. Ours is like the epitome of best. You know that's a lie. But most companies, they oversell themselves. It is a very, very big lie. Be fair, avoid deception. Consider issues of physical disability, hence that I was talking about, being accessible to all, for allocation of resources. Then be encouraged to volunteer professionally. If you can, volunteer, guys. There's nothing wrong with writing, contributing public software or to public, something that doesn't give you money. Nothing wrong with that, as long as it's for public good. And actually to look on your CV. Look very, very good on your. A lot of softwares that you've been contributing that do good. And it works wonders. And then number 2, client and employer. Software engineers should act in a manner that is in the best interest of their client and employer. with the public interest. The public interest is number one. Number two is your as a software engineer, act in a manner that is in the best interest of the client and employer that is consistent, as an employer, sorry, that is consistent with the public interest. So now, as long as you meet the public interest part, also with the best, now, act in such a manner that is going to be your client and your provide services in the area of competence. Do not say that you can do ABC, or at least you can't, because you just want to be employed. According to the best of your ability in your area of competence. If you are a coder, code. If you are a designer, design. And then now, not knowingly use software that is obtained or retained either illegally or unethically. Now, this one here tends to be a little bit of, an underline. I don't know what you guys think, and I don't know how many of you guys really use ethical software that you are literally buying your software. If I may ask you, I don't know if Troy is here. Troy, are you here?
Good afternoon.
How's it going, Troy? You good?
Great, man. Yourself?
I want to ask a question here. I'm sorry to put you on the spotlight. You are free to plead the fifth, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool.
Question. I know you use Photoshop,
Yeah.
amongst other software. Do you pay for your Photoshop?
Yeah, as you said, what I'm not obliged to answer that question because we are recorded. Don't want to implicate myself.
But
yeah.
Anyway, the point that I'm trying to say, you remember that thing that I was talking about the thin line now between what is ethical, especially in a society like ours and in a society like United States, they can afford to pay for anything.
Yes,
but
yes.
Now, for some of us here, we get our computers and stuff. We do not even know what is paid for and what is not. So hence, for me, I will always claim ignorance if ever when the time comes for someone to ask me certain questions. Like, I don't know. I just found my software installed. So hence, now when it comes to when it comes to that, so I will always claim ignorance for that, because I understand that there's certain, because here in the code of conduct notice they're saying not knowingly using software that is obtained or retained either illegally or unethically. So now that tends to be a very, very, very thin line. And then now at the same time, also remember that the moment that you find out that software is obtained illegally or unethically, according to the professional body, according to the code of ethics and professionalism, the practice, the moment that you realize that you're supposed to uninstall them and utilize a paid version of that particular software, that tends to be tricky. But now, that is also part of that. So hence, if you're working for a company, it is the responsibility of that company to make sure that the software that you are using is obtained legally and ethically. It is the responsibility of the company. It is never your responsibility. See that? So hence now you notice that there's that drive, there's that narrative now on who's on where this actually will fall to and how it's actually used. So as I'm saying, like there's a lot of software, even myself. It's like it might not be something that that we say that we agree, but there's a very it's difficult for you to obtain certain types of software because of the cost and everything else. But yeah, as we grow into the industry, you notice that it's actually very beneficial sometime later buying this particular software. Also, now use of property of a client or employee in ways, only in ways properly authorized. Like for instance, most of the times we borrow computers from work, or work borrows computers, borrows us computers, and because of that, there's certain ways that we actually operate, that we take those computers that we have, and then we start doing certain things that are actually not authorized. I'm not going to say this, but I'm pretty sure that Sponelo meets this in certain instances here, whereby some of you guys, you've been given your computers, and then one time is your computer is not working because somehow something has been done in that computer that was not properly authorized. Some people will open these computers, remove parts. Some people will start using these computers to make music and things like that. But these computers have been designed for a specific, they've been given to you so that you can perform a specific task. Then people divert them. See that in itself is unethical. Identify, document, collect evidence, and report to the client or employer promptly if a project is likely to fail or to violate intellectual property law. This here is one of the most underrated statements, especially in our industry there. A lot of people, because they want to make money, because they do not want to seem incompetent, they are very reluctant to say, okay, this project is likely to fail because of ABC. But because now they want to keep up with a certain facade, and then they will be like, no, we're just going to delay the project by another 3 months. The 3 months lapses, then no, like we just need maybe 1 or 2 more months. Another 1 or 2 months. Now we need maybe some more money because like the money was missing. APC, and then after a year, and then that's when they no, there's nothing that wasn't happening properly and things like that. You notice, oh, you're being unethical, you're being unprofessional. So hence, you need to do that. Identify, document, collect evidence, and report to the client if ever a project is likely to fail, or if a project is likely to violate these intellectual property laws. Then number 3, product. Software engineers shall ensure that their products and related modifications meet the highest professional standards possible. Professional engineer must ensure that these products that they're dealing with, they meet these related modifications. These modifications, they meet the highest professional standards possible. Strive for high quality and acceptable cost. Always do that. Strive for high quality and acceptable cost. Now, when I'm saying acceptable cost, we're not saying that strive for things that are very expensive. No, we're talking about things that are within your budget, but as long as you produce the highest of quality of work. Like here, I was talking to Roy, and then I'm asking about the software and stuff, and I've noticed like a lot of his work is like proper high quality there. So as long as there is that part where quality meets cost, I think there has to be a compromise there. Is that quality meets cost. Also, ensure proper and achievable goals and objectives for any project. Like never strangle yourself just because you want to win clients, and then you look at a project, and then you know that project is going to take you 6 months, but you tell your clients, nah, I can do this. That's a lie. It's an unachievable goal. You know it. And even if you can achieve it, the quality there won't be as high as it's supposed to be. At most, it might be very mediocre. It might be very, very cheap quality. It might be a program that is full of bugs that doesn't even work. And then also ensure that they are qualified for any project that you work on. Like any project that you work on, guys, any project that you take on. You shouldn't be about, I will learn as I do it. If you're getting a project from a client, you're supposed to know what you're doing. You cannot experiment using somebody's time and somebody's money. You can't do that. Hence, make sure that you're qualified. Know what you're doing in that particular project. There is nothing wrong with, let's say, already you have started your project and then there's one or two things that you need to go and research on. Nothing wrong with that, because anyway, that is how we learn. But the most important statement, or the most important part in all of this, is you understanding that whatever project that I need to do, I'm qualified to do it, and I am capable of doing it. And then ensure that an appropriate method is used for any project. Have a proper work plan, work method, and use that appropriate method there. And then work to follow professional standards. Work to follow professional standards. Always work to follow professional standards that have been set. Work to follow them. If your code needs to be commented, comment your code so that you are not the only person that is going to be working on that code. As much as you want your client to come back to you every time, there are certain times when you won't be available, or that client has become too small for you because you have grown big, your company is now huge. So you need for someone to be able to work on that. And for you to start shelving people's things just because you do not have time to work on their things. Hence, comment on your projects when you are doing your work. Write code in such a way that it is clear and concise for the next person that's going to be able to do maintenance, or that is going to upgrade whatever work that you have. And then strive to fully understand the specifications of software. Very important. Understand what the problem that the client is bringing to you, their specifications. I want a program that can do A, B, C. Understand those specifications. Because otherwise, if you under-deliver, they will refuse to pay. If you deliver something that doesn't do what they want, they will refuse to pay, and it will affect your reputation sometime later. So understand their specifications, understand what the client really wants. Also, ensure adequate testing, debugging, documentation, review of software. Now you understand that these are some of the very important aspects there. Understand that you need proper time to test and to debug. You need proper time to write documentation and to review that software that you're dealing with. Excuse me? You need to understand all of those things there. Now, also treat all forms of software maintenance in the same professionalism as new development. The same way that you deal with software that you're developing for the very first time. Treat the maintenance software that you're maintaining the same, as if you are dealing it for the first time ever. Look at it, like deal with it in that precise manner there. Then judgment. Now, under judgment, software engineers shall maintain integrity and independence in their professional judgment. You shall maintain integrity and independence in your professional judgment there. Temper all technical judgments by need to support and maintain human values. Need to maintain and support human values. And only endorse paperwork, documentation, if prepared under supervision. Only endorse that document that has been properly supervised. Any other documentation that is not properly supervised, don't really endorse it, because you do not know if it has problems, if it's understandable, if it's written in proper language, or if it has all the technicalities or techniques and specifications that are needed. Not know that. So hence only endorse document that is prepared under supervision, because it has been supervised, it has been reread and has been worked on. Also maintain professional objectivity with respect to any software. Now, objectivity deals with that aspect of you being professional in terms of how you look at software. If people have to come and give you constructive criticism, accept it with professionalism. You cannot be offended because someone says, your pattern doesn't do the work that it's supposed to do, or your your button is ugly, or you need to change this, that, and stuff like that. You can't be offended by those things. So hence, you need to understand that part there, that maintain professional objectivity with respect to any software, even if it's software that is not yours. If you have to pass judgment on that software, because you did not make it and then you think it's inferior, no. Maintain professional objectivity. Also, not engage in deceptive financial practices such as double billing and improper financial practices. Do not cheat people. That's the simple thing there. Do not deceive people. Do not double bill people. Do not bill. Like, for instance, I've noticed this a lot with software engineers. Not just software engineers, but other people as well, like people that are offering services. People that are offering services, they've got this tendency of, you get a project, you look at it, and then you notice that this particular project, you can literally do it in 3 hours. But then you take that project and then you sit with it for 7 days. And then when you go back to your client, then you invoice the client, then you invoice the client 8 times 7. Which is literally what, 56 hours for something that you did in less than 5 hours. But now you going to invoice the client that much. Reason why is because you think that makes sense to do that because you are buying time and stuff. But it's not professional. It's very, very unprofessional. Bill for the hours that you've worked. For the scope of work. Do not find anything else that you're not supposed to, and then you start building that and that and that. Bill for the scope of work. And then disclose all consent parties, to all consent parties, those conflicts of interest that cannot be reasonably avoided or escaped. So if, let's say, you are working for a company that makes an app that does maybe specific things, for instance, let's say it designs software for accounting companies, and then from there, and then another company comes that deals with accounting software, and then comes to you and says, okay, I need a software that can do ABC. And you notice that most of the scope in that work that has been given to you is related or similar to what your company offers. That is a conflict of interest on its own. You cannot now start working on that project because it's a conflict of interest. One is you are working for a company that does the same thing that you are doing. That other company is doing. Also, at the same time, you might steal ideas. It is inevitable that you're going to steal ideas from the company where you are working and implement it in that other software. Rather leave the company where you're working and establish your own thing. But there's that conflict of interest there. So if you see that conflict of interest are not to be avoided, are not going to be avoided, rather tell the client, my client, you know what, I work for Surge. In the company that you're looking, the software that you're looking for, we're working on some aspects that I'm not willing to, that I'm not going to talk about, but they're similar. So I'm sorry, I cannot accept this project because of conflict of interest. Professional, straightforward, ethical. And then management. Now, software engineering managers and leaders shall subscribe and promote an ethical approach to the management of software development and maintenance. So this is management now. Management and leaders, they should ensure good management for any project that they work on. For instance, so like when you guys are doing your assignment, for instance, when I say design a website that's going to do ABC, I'm basically at that time acting more as a manager. And then my job basically is to promote an ethical approach to how you guys develop and maintain your work. For instance, I have to make sure that I'm realistic in terms of my planning, in terms of my scheduling and things like that, in terms of these softwares that you guys make. I also have to inform you of the standards that I'm going to uphold your work. See that I'm not going to ask you to do anything that is inconsistent with the code of conduct. Like, for instance, I'm not going to ask you guys to go on YouTube and steal somebody's code and come and write it as your own. That would be unethical. You see that? So now, any good manager in the IT spec or in software engineering, a software engineering manager has to make sure that the project that you work on, there's good management there, that the software engineers are informed of the standards before being held to them. Also, you have to be very realistic in quantitative estimates of cost, scheduling, personnel, quality, and outcomes of any project. You not expect someone to come and do A, B, C, D, while you know that what you have given them, they can only do A. Some managers are that unreasonable. They want you to perform magic, like some crazy things, while themselves, they know very well that the resources and the tools that they've given you is not even adequate to do anything really. Also, provide for due process in hearing the charges of evaluation of any employer's policy of what. Look, so there has to be a process, especially if ever an employee breaks or violates the employer's policy of this kind of conduct there. So now, as a manager, these are some of the aspects that you also need to. Because remember, being a software engineer, guys, is not about coding all the time. Like, I know we've been talking about coding all this time, but there's also the management aspect of being a software engineer. But some of you, I'm pretty sure you just want to work on the management side there. You understand the technologies, you understand coding and everything else, but you do not need to go and be a coder per se, but you can deal with the management side. And then profession. Software engineers should advance the integrity and reputation of the profession consistent with public interest. You see, like, this is your job, to advance the integrity and reputation of this profession. Help develop an organizational environment favorable to acting ethically. Help to develop that environment there. Promote public knowledge of software engineering. This is one thing that I'm a very big advocate for, promoting public knowledge. That is why I teach in high schools, because in South Africa, if there's one thing that is like my passion here is basically trying to make sure that the youth in this country are very much knowledgeable with software engineering. It's a very growing field, but our country isn't advancing fast enough. And because of that, we are left behind in the world. And now we've got companies that are coming from outside that are coming and doing work that our people are supposed to be doing. Right now, most of our companies here are hiring remote people, like people remotely, people from outside of the country, come and do work that we are supposed to be doing. While they are sitting somewhere in India, somewhere in Europe, they're sitting there in Australia, wherever around the world, but they are working here in South Africa. They're working remotely. And people don't even know that, because we're still busy chasing after the people that are doing these small jobs there. But there's a lot of jobs that we have in this country that are remote jobs. And we've got a lot of people from outside of the country that are working there. Why? Because we do not understand the importance of the IT space. Hence, this is one thing that I'm passionate about, promoting the knowledge of software engineering. It is my job. As a professional of this particular profession there, that is one of my jobs there. And then support, as a member of profession, other software engineers striving to follow this code. We teach other people to follow the code. Do not hack. As much as you show someone how to code and everything, also at the same time, you also need to show them, like, okay, cool. Now you understand how to code and everything else. Also understand that there is A, B, C that you need to do, and also you are not supposed to do A, B, C. Tell them so that you can show them the benefits and the bad sides of this. not promote their own interest at the expense of the profession, client, or employer. This here has been always the biggest issue that a lot of software engineers have been facing, promoting their own interest. Like last time I was listening to an interview. So this other guy he's a YouTuber now. And then he was saying that he used to work in the IT space. He used to be a software engineer. And then when he was asked why did he quit? And then he was like, nah, I quit because I was working for a company that wanted me to make software according to what they wanted. They didn't want me to experiment how I wanted to make the software. But then my question was like, okay, if you want to make your own software, you can make your own software. But now if you're working for someone comes with their own specifications, isn't it, at the end of the day? It's a client that comes and say, I want A, B, C, D. Why do you want to experiment with what a client wants? Give the client what they want. And then if you want to experiment, then you take your own, sit down in your own time, make your own software, make your own code, experiment as much as you want. But at that time, when you are working, never promote your own interest at the expense of the profession, at the expense of the client, at the expense of the employer. Do what you need to do at that specific time. If the client wants ABC, if you're working on company, do what the client wants. And then do not be upset when a client can come to you and tell you that, nah, I do not like this design. And then you start going around like, clients do not know what they want and stuff like that. I'm in the industry, guys. I know that. This is one of the things that you usually face. I'm also the same. Sometimes I get very upset if a client comes and then when I tell myself like, yo, I've made the best program of my life, like, yo, I did this one, I killed. If the design looks awesome, then the client looks at it like, I don't like the colors, I don't like this, I don't like that. I get offended sometimes. But bottom line is, it is not my app. I am making for the client. The client has to be happy. If the client comes and like, yo, I love this, then I'm also happy. See that? So never promote your own interest. Also take responsibility for detecting, correcting, and reporting errors in the software. If you find any errors, take that responsibility. If you need to detect, if you need to test, you need to correct, do that. Do not wait for the client to call you, because yourself now you wrote software, and then from there you are hiding that software that you wrote because you do not want your client to be able to see certain errors that you have, and then you roll it out. But when you know precisely that the software has got bugs and things like that, if ever you know that your software has bugs, your software has issues, report, detect, correct, and report those errors. And then report significant violations of this code to appropriate authority. I know you mostly say things like snitches get stitches and things like that, but guys, a violation of the code is a violation of the code, and it needs to be fixed. If you need to report it, report it. If someone is busy hacking systems that they're not supposed to, it's going to affect you one way or the other. Or one day, they might not hack you on now, but imagine how painful it is for you to get hacked sometime later. So you have to understand that. And then number 7, colleagues. Software engineers shall be fair and supportive to their colleagues. You have to be fair and supportive to your colleagues there. Encourage your colleagues to adhere to this code or to this code of conduct. Encourage your colleagues to adhere to this code of conduct. Like, for instance, I am encouraging you guys to adhere to this code of conduct right now. This is me encouraging you as my colleagues. Also, assist colleagues in professional development. And that is what we are doing right now. We're helping each other develop ourselves professionally. Credit fully the work of others and refrain from taking undue credit. Like, this is one thing that you usually meet a lot, especially in the IT space. Some of you here, guys, are going to work for some people. And one of the first things that you realize, especially when you get to the industry, is how selfish people are And that is something that you should be willing right now to accept and to acknowledge that some of the colleagues that you deal with are very, very selfish. And one thing is, some people will be taking credit for your work. Someone will be like, yo, this thing does awesome. And you know that you didn't sleep for the past 4 or 5 days. Then someone comes, they're like, yeah, that was tough work, but I only did it like in 2 days. The person didn't even do anything, or maybe the person simply corrected one piece of code or put a comma or terminated your code, and then all of a sudden they're taking credit for the whole thing as if it was their brainchild. You'll meet that a lot, but it is unprofessional. Hence, as software engineers, you need to be fair and supportive of your colleagues. Assist colleagues in being fully aware of the current standard work practices. Like, if you're in the industry, one thing that I was saying that is that our industry changes a lot, and it changes very rapidly. So it is your job to make sure that your colleagues are staying in the forefront with you. You have to be aware of the current standards of the work practices. If they have to know the latest IDE they're supposed to use, tell them. If they have to do something, they have to learn Git, they have to learn this, you should be able to tell them then. And also not unfairly intervene in the career of any colleague. Do not try to do anything to a colleague. Do not unfairly intervene in your colleague's space. You should work collaboratively. You should recognize and respect the contributions of other people, and also create an inclusive and diverse environment as a software engineer. So, and anyway, that is one thing that I love about our industry. Is the inclusivity and the diverseness of our environment. Like, our environment is very, very diverse. Like, and it's very, very inclusive. Very, very inclusive. If you know what you're doing, you're accepted by everyone. If you don't know what you're doing, people are going to help you to their best abilities to see if they can help you to advance. Unless if you find in another company where there's cutthroats, then it's time for you. And then the last aspect, self. Self is the last aspect, is the last thing there. Self. Now, software engineers shall participate in the lifelong learning regarding the practice of their profession, and shall promote an ethical approach to the practice of the profession. Hence, now you understand these parts here, that a software engineer should keep up with technological advancements, participate in continued education, and promote your own professional growth. That is your job as a professional engineer. Learn to grow each and every time. Do not learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then you think you are done. No, you are far from it. There are other technologies there. There's something that works very well with CSS called SASS. You need to learn that and understand it. It takes like a day or two for you to learn it, but you need to learn and understand it. And then your JavaScript. There are frameworks that are working with JavaScript. Like, because for instance, JavaScript itself is not enough. There are frameworks that work with that. There's Node.js, there's React.js, there's React Native. You see that? So there's a lot of these frameworks, and these frameworks are basically used. As much as you guys think that you are making websites, you're not making websites only. If you learn Native, if you learn React, you notice that you'll be able to write apps for phones, apps for computers, apps for tablets, and things like that, for iPads and things like that. All those are written in React. And it's basically the same, JavaScript. You see that? So now, if you are a programmer, and afterwards, and then you need to learn testing tools as well, because remember, it doesn't stop from building. You have to be able to build, remember? You have to be able to correct. So how do you correct if you do not know what is wrong? You have to test. And then how do you test? You need to learn the testing platforms as well. You need to understand database, how it works. You need to understand SQL code there. You might even need to learn machine learning sometime later in your life, languages like C. Some of you might even need to learn Python. See that? Hence, improve your knowledge. But do not just learn everything. Improve your relevant knowledge. Something that is related to your scope of work, improve. And then after you have mastered whatever that, then you can learn something new, but improve on what you know already and build up on your experience and become an expert in whatever that you do. See that? You improve your ability to provide accurate, informative, and well-written documentation. Improve your ability to create safe, reliable, useful, quality software. See that? Know the future developments that are coming related to your scope of work. So understand all of that stuff there. So the more that you do that, and the more you grow in your profession there. So now, friends, we are done for today. This is where I'm going to stop for today, especially when it comes to your code of conduct. So those are the 8 items that we're dealing with. So, and then you guys have got some work that you need to do on. Then tomorrow we are going to continue from outcome 2. So we're talking about the calls for practice for journalism in Africa. Dealing with outcome 2, probably outcome 2 and outcome 3. That's what we're. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Hello. Do you have any questions?
We are good, sir.
Okay. All right. So yeah. Then awesome. Then we'll meet tomorrow. Then tomorrow we're just finishing the last part of our discussion. Is outcome 2 and probably outcome 3. We'll just cover that and finish up tomorrow. Or then we move to 2, I think on Wednesday, then we move to module 2. As I said, that I want at least this week, by Monday or so next week, done practical module. Go back to our JavaScripting. For the following month, we go back to when you're going to start database and SQL, so that our JavaScript can really make sense now after we've created almost every technology that we need. So yeah, on this note, guys, have an awesome day. If we have no further questions, and then we will meet again tomorrow morning. Tomorrow at 2. So see you guys around. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Pascalina. Thank you, Busi.